I hope that you're doing well. Welcome to the channel. So, today I'll be talking about my experiences living on my Saturn Midheaven line. So, obviously, your experiences are going to be different to mine, okay? Because we all have different charts. So, your experiences by a Saturn line are going to be different to mine slightly, okay? But this is just to give you a general idea of what you may expect to encounter, and hopefully this information will be helpful to you if you plan on going to your Saturn line. So I want to talk about my first sort of direct encounter, like on a Saturn line, like very, very close to it, which I think is interesting. So before I even discovered astrocartography, right, I went travelling and I went to the Lake District, okay? And when I went there, I felt very, very, very depressed, okay? And I was in quite a bad relationship at the time. I was with someone who wasn't very compassionate or very supportive. So when I was sad and depressed, he was having a go at me and saying, "Oh, why are you so depressed? You're like ruining a holiday." And he wasn't being very nice or supportive, and it really wasn't helping with my mental state either, like having that being said to me. But I felt really, really down and depressed, and I remember the weather there. It was very gloomy, like the clouds, they're like almost black, which sort of added to my depressive state, right? And it's like my mind was consumed with all these like really depressing thoughts. Like I felt like the future was bleak. I felt like there was no hope. I felt like all there was hard work and trials and tribulations in like our life. I was very focused on past events where I've experienced many difficulties. It's like all these memories were flooding into my mind, like all these negative memories, and I felt very bleak. I felt a distinct lack of hope about the future. And when I discovered astrocartography, right, I just had to see what was going on there. And what do you know? Like, it was literally exactly on my Saturn line, like literally there. That is where it hits, like on the Lake District, right, in the UK. And I was like, yeah, like that makes so much sense to me. Like that exactly explains like why I felt so down, why I felt so depressed, and why I was having all these thoughts, like all these negative thoughts, and why I felt a distinct lack of hope about the future, right? And this is what really sort of confirmed it for me. This is what really made me start believing that there is truth to astrocartography, right? Like, yeah, it's just uncanny, like how it works like that. But thankfully, I live reasonably far distance, like from my Saturn line now. Like it still has an effect, obviously, but I'm not on a day-to-day basis. I'm quite moody. I'm a Cancer rising, so I attribute that to like why I'm quite moody. Like my mood goes up and down like throughout the day, right? I'm quite happy now, but like later on in the day I'll get a bit grumpy maybe or snappy or whatever, but then I'll be really happy again. It's crazy. But basically, like generally speaking, I'm not really depressed. I'm on a day-to-day basis, I'm okay, like things are alright, but there are challenges obviously that I face being on my Saturn line. I didn't come here by choice. I was born here and I've been trying to move away my whole life, and I'm 30 now and that still hasn't happened, okay? And that's the thing with Saturn lines. They really do have this sticking effect, right? It's almost like I'm not like an astrophysicist, and I don't know if this is 100% correct or not, okay? If you're an astrophysicist, please feel free to correct me. But it's almost like the event horizon on a black hole. It's like the point of no return, right? When an object like goes into like the event horizon, there's like no going back, and you're just on your way to going into the black hole in the middle. Okay, I'm not an astrophysicist. Yeah, if I'm wrong, please correct me if you know more about that sort of thing. But that's what it's like. It sort of like pulls you in, and it's almost like there's no getting out. That's how it feels, right? I do fully believe that I will move away at some point in my life, okay, but it's like I have these loose ends I need to tie up first, specifically in relation to my career, because whenever it's like there's always something that I need to do or complete, like here, before I move away. And I'm always, when I mention how I want to move away to someone, okay, I'm always told like the same thing or a similar sort of thing. I'm always told, okay, well, you need to prepare for this. You need to save up a lot of money first. You need to do this, that, and the other first, right? And it's like you're faced with all these responsibilities, right, that you need to complete, right, before you can break free from your Saturn line, right? And I've decided to myself now that if this doesn't happen by the time I'm 35, okay, I'm just going anyway. Like, I'm just going anyway. I'm going on some sort of extended trip somewhere and just being a nomad somewhere, okay, or in lots of different places. Like, that's my plan, okay? But it does seem to have this effect where you just feel stuck and that you can't escape or break free, and there's always something for you to do before you can move away, right? And it does feel like moving away can never happen, right? I don't necessarily attribute like the reason why I don't like living here to my Saturn line, okay, because it has created benefits for me, and I have seen success in my life in lots of ways. Like, on paper, objectively, like, I am successful on paper, right? Even though it doesn't feel like it sometimes. I feel like there's always something more for me to do, right? There's always something more for me to achieve, right? Nothing ever feels good enough. But the reason why I don't really like it here is because there are other challenging things going on here, right? So I'm also on my Chiron IC line. So there's that sense that I just don't, and I attribute that, like, me not feeling at home here more to that, rather than my Saturn line. And I'm also on a Venus-Saturn crossing and a Moon-Pluto crossing. Like, why? Why me? Like, why did I have to be born here? Like, it's challenging. Like, all these things together just create a very challenging experience. I do want to talk about more about these factors in other videos, so feel free to stay tuned for that if you're interested. But with my Saturn line, right, like, I've always had to work so hard for anything, okay? Nothing has really come to me like that easily, or there's been a delay in me achieving things, right? So, for example, like in school, okay, I was always really behind in school because, for one, I was like really bullied in school. I didn't like going in, and I used to run away. And I wasn't able to concentrate in class because I was too distracted by people throwing things at me or whatever, or people, like, I don't know, like, saying horrible things. So I wasn't able to ever concentrate in class, okay, understandably. So I was behind, okay, I was really behind, and I did slack off. I ended up, like, not going into school, like, by the end of my school years. Like, when I was around 15, 16, I just decided to not go in. and I just bunked off the whole day and did whatever, and that had consequences inevitably. And as a result, I had to, when I went to college, I had to build myself up again. I had to start from the ground up, right? And I spent probably 3 years extra in college, like compared to my peers, right? So usually, like in the UK, you'll I don't know if it's different for you, wherever you are, and it might be different now because I'm 30 now and things have probably changed a lot in school, right? But basically, so I think I just turned up to my exams and I didn't do too well, right? I passed like a few of them, but I was just winging it basically. But basically, I failed most of them. So as a result, I had to, start on like a level 1 course in college, and I had to like work my way up, okay, like up to level 3. So for example, like doing A levels, which is what people who were just leaving school, they were doing straight away, and I had to work myself up to that, okay? So there was this huge delay in me achieving things academically, because I did eventually want to go to university. I've always been like quite ambitious. I've always like wanted to achieve. I've always been like very success driven, right? And I did end up going to university. I did end up like getting a degree, and I did end up getting a master's degree as well. Like on paper, like I've done well, like academically. And I do believe that that's the influence of Saturn, like on my midheaven. It's like pushing me to do better. It's pushing me to do more. But it's almost like I've always had to put in extra hours, like even doing higher education. I feel like I've always had to put in like extra effort, and I've always had to double check things. I've always had to make sure all my I's were dotted and all my T's were crossed, otherwise there would be like huge consequences. And that's the thing, if I ever slack off, right, if I ever like cut corners, there are huge drawbacks and consequences to that, right? It's like there's no getting away with anything on a Saturn line, right? You have to make sure your work is thorough. You have to make sure everything you do is correct and proper. Otherwise, it's gonna blow up in your face, like, trust me. And it's been the same in, like, my work and my business, okay? So, I don't really like talking about my achievements too much, because I believe that the evil eye is real, and if you talk about your achievements too much, someone is going to be like, no, I don't want you to have that. And then bad things are going to start happening in your life. I do believe that's a real thing. But just to talk about generally, like, I have done well in terms of business, okay? It has been, like, hard work, okay? But on paper, it appears as though I'm successful. I don't, like, feel successful. Like, I don't feel like I've accomplished what I've truly wanted to accomplish yet, right? But I feel like I'm on my way there, like, slowly but surely, right? And I do think that I will get there, but I feel like Saturn, it just delays things. It's delaying my progress. It's delaying my ability to get to where I want to be in terms of my career. But I have experienced a modicum of success. Like, I have. There's no denying that. But that has been the result of hard work. And there have been obstacles and there have been delays. Like, obviously I'm a human. Like, sometimes I will slack off and try and cut corners, but I'm always faced, like, with the consequences of that. And I have to build my way back up again if I do that. So I've learned not to, basically. It is like you constantly have this parent figure on your shoulder or this teacher figure on your shoulder telling you, you know, you shouldn't be doing that, you know, that's not right, like, don't do that. Otherwise there's going to be trouble. And while that's very annoying, I have to say, like, it has helped me grow, it has helped me improve and develop my skills, right? I also remember, I'm like recalling this experience from my very early schooling years now, and this sounds like quite minor and insignificant, right? But like when I was a lot younger, I had this teacher, right? Maybe it was the effect of a sunlight, maybe it's giving me stricter teachers as well than the average person. But this teacher, I remember, how old was I? Probably about 4. And I remember this teacher saying, like, a lot of you're not like colouring in properly. You need to make sure like you're colouring in like everything and doing like colouring in every single little detail, because like most children like at that age they'll give a little scribble, like when they draw like an outline of something and they colour it in, they'll just be like or whatever. And that's what I was doing at first, right? But it's like I felt really bothered by this, right? And I decided that, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Like, I am going to colour all of this in. And while that sounds like quite an easy thing for you now, right, if you're like an adult like watching this, for a child that is a very hard thing to do. And I remember it being a very difficult experience doing that in my 4-year-old body, in my 4-year-old mind, in my 4-year-old self, like colouring in like every single little bit on the page was the most strenuous thing I ever did, right? Like, that sounds kind of ridiculous because it's probably very, like I said, probably it's very easy for you now, right? But the funny thing is, like, my mum was telling me about this experience, right? And she was saying how her and my granddad were like, oh wow, like that must be like a sign of intelligence, like that she's able to colour in everything like that at that age. Like, wow. Like, I don't consider myself to be like particularly intelligent. I'd say I'm average. Yeah, I'm definitely average. But basically it's like having that sort of nagging influence on your shoulder, it helps you improve, it helps you better yourself, and it helps you accomplish things. And that is exactly what my Saturn line has done, right? There's always been something on my shoulder telling me, oh yeah, you need to do more, you need to do better, you need to improve in this way, right? And that has helped me to achieve a lot, but it's difficult, like really difficult. None of it is an easy process, right? It feels difficult improving on yourself, it feels difficult learning new skills, but there are rewards to this, like, eventually, and you can be recognised for your achievements. I would definitely say as well that the older you are, the easier it's going to be, okay? Because the older I've got, like, the easier it has got in terms of that sort of thing, right? Because naturally, as I'm older, like, I'm generally, I wouldn't really describe myself as too responsible, right? But like, I have become like more responsible. I've become more self-disciplined, like, as I've got older. So it's obviously easier to deal with those sorts of demands, right? So that's that for now. I hope you enjoyed hearing about my experiences, and hopefully it's given you a general idea of what you can expect to experience. I will be talking more about other experiences that I've had, so if you enjoyed this video, feel free to stay tuned for more. Anyway, I hope to see you next time, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Bye!